On behalf of the Veterans Memorial Committee, the American Legion Post 164, and the town of Falmouth, a warm welcome to all for attending the dedication of our Falmouth Veterans Memorial. This memorial was Art Ferguson's and Ted Vale's long-time dream, and we know Art would have been more than pleased if he was here today. Over 2.5 years, the Veterans Memorial Committee met with members, sometimes leaving the meetings very discouraged, especially with the design work and not knowing the site location. After months of absolutely going nowhere, Ted Vale looked out the window of the Legion Hall and said, "Why can't we have the memorial here?" After receiving the blessings from the Legion members, we were finally able to start planning the actual memorial and fundraising. The fundraising was a total success, as shown through the generosity from the Falmouth citizens and businesses, as well as citizens and businesses in other towns and citizens out of state. Every donation was special, but I need to mention two. The Arthur Ferguson Memorial Fund was established when Art passed away. Those funds were matched by members of the American Legion Post 164 and donated towards this memorial. The West Falmouth Fire Company donated the proceeds from the sale of a fire barn located on Gray Road, which was built by members who were veterans. Ted Vale and I divided the list of individuals and businesses that we would like to publicly acknowledge this morning. My list includes our town engineer, Jamie Mason, as I do not believe this memorial would have been finished today without his expertise. He designed the memorial for the monument company, met with the various contractors for bids, worked weekends, used his own equipment, and was in contact with me almost daily. Ted Vale, you worked tirelessly as you were contacting friends, local citizens, as well as businesses for money as well as in-kind donations. Bruce Collette from Collette Monuments, I cannot say enough about his patience, knowledge, and professionalism. Gnest Landscape and Masonry donated all these pavers. Todd Marco from Known Landscapers was absolutely great to work with, and Known donated the granite step, the edging, the stone dust, and the finished sand. Derek Auclair from Gorham Flag Center. I appreciated his knowledge, his patience working with me, and he donated the flag that we raised today. David and Ann Chase from Chase Excavating spent an entire day grading the memorial after the trees were removed and prepared the site for the pavers and the granite step. Story Brothers Excavating were prompt, reliable at the last minute of being notified. May I introduce Pastor Robert Gustafson of the Falmouth Lutheran Church, who will give the invocation.
Good morning. I'm thankful to be here. I'm a little late, and I'm sorry about that, and I've received Ted Vale's forgiveness, so I'm thankful for that. Let us join together in prayer. We pray, dear Lord, for the grace that you alone can give. We give you thanks for those who have served our country and for those who have given their lives in that service. We pray for your blessings to be upon them and that upon their memories. Help us, dear Lord, to remember them with thankfulness and to thank all who continue to serve our nation with courage and with strength. Help us, dear Lord, to be your faithful people. We pray that your blessings be upon us this morning and that you continue to bless our nation and give to it the strength and the resolve that is needed to continue to bring freedom to all. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Ben Rudnick, a student at Falmouth High School, will play the Star Spangled Banner. Bonville, Frank Dusty, and Arthur Shea, members of American Legion Post 164, will raise the flag.
There was a piece of paper that flew.
Will committee members Ted Vale, Betsy Jo Whitcomb, and Carol Coughlin please step forward? Will members of Falmouth Post 164 please lay the wreath? May I introduce Ted Vale?
Good morning. We're really very, very fortunate to have such a beautiful day, to have so many of you people here. Before saying anything more, I'll say that I've been warned by three people. First, my wife, and then Randy and Rolly Moore, longtime friends, who said, don't talk too long. But there's a few things that I want to say, and hope you'll bear with me. This is a special Veterans Day in Falmouth, as we dedicate this monument to Falmouth veterans. Most of us remember that this day, November 11th, was originally Armistice Day. And later it was changed. That was in memory of World War I. And then later, after World War II, it was renamed Veterans Day in honor of all veterans. And that goes along with the monument here behind me, which we made every effort to dedicate to all veterans. Now, very quickly, in order to speed this up a little, I'll read some of it. The late Arthur Fredrickson and I were Falmouth High School classmates, graduating the class of 1945. Following our military service, Arthur spent many years living in Connecticut. In the mid-90s, Arthur returned to Falmouth and lived with a niece on Depot Road, next to where he grew up. Upon returning to Falmouth, Arthur immediately became very active in this Legion post. Becoming commander on more than one occasion, he put new life in the post, as I'm sure his comrades would agree. Being retired, Arthur had the time, interest, and devotion to provide great leadership. We met and reminisced many times about high school days and so on, and the time in the service. And finally we agreed to do something about the lack of a Veterans Monument in the town of Falmouth. We made an appointment to meet with the town manager. He gave us the opportunity to speak to the council. He was interested and very helpful. The council then asked for volunteers, and based upon the response to that, Diane Moore, Betsy Whitcomb, Carol Iverson Kaufman were appointed along with Arthur and me to this Veterans Committee. I want to ask these committee members to stand, please. Thank you. Our task was twofold. First, to select a site, and second, to design the monument, including appropriate wording. Selecting a site was a chore for a while because we had lots of suggestions, believe me, from town hall to the various schools to lots of places on Route 1. But we wanted a place where it would be visible, where people would see it, where they could stop, having a place to park, and the parking at the library in here is more than adequate. The American Legion Post owns this narrow strip of land, and they leased it to the town for 99 years so that we could have this monument here. Very quickly, I want to say that the Falmouth Memorial Post, American Legion, was formed in 1946 as a memorial to veterans. The Falmouth Memorial Library opened in 1952, and that is dedicated to veterans. So it seems quite appropriate that we have this monument between the two. I want to name just a few people, because I should. Some of the original members of the American Legion here in Falmouth were Ken Jordan, Jack Vale, Arthur O'Brien, Don Farr, and I would introduce him later. If you notice at the front of the Legion Hall, it says Caldwell Memorial Post. In recent years, many Legion posts, because of lack of members, people dying off and so on, they have either joined together or passed out of existence. A few years ago, the Caldwell Post joined with the Falmouth Post, and Don Farr is the representative. He's a service officer and a representative of the former Caldwell Post. Other names: Guy Mason, Roland Moore, Neil Tapman, Lynn Elliott. More recently, Ralph Bonville is here today, Al Pierce, Andy Iverson, Norman O'Brien, David Halligan, Robert Mitchell. I know that there are some others that's a list I came up with in a hurry. And now I would say about the library. Again, I said it's a memorial library, and it was formed in 1952. And some of the early leaders, early founders of the library were Olga Oskov, Sarah O'Brien, Ernest White, Harold Wright, Ted Johnson, Roy Wilson, and again, many others, and I hope I haven't left out too many. The Veterans Committee met many times. Our first decision was to make Diane Moore our chairperson. I can't tell you how hard Diane has worked. She's been a diligent leader who has kept us on track for 2.5 years. Shortly after the site selection, Arthur Fredrickson became very ill and passed away. This was a great loss to the Legion, the town, and our committee. After his death, one of his nieces handed me a letter Arthur had left for me. Among other thoughts, Arthur asked me to follow through with our plan, to not give up. He needn't have worried. The committee was determined, and with Diane's leadership, we've reached this final step. While Diane will be making further remarks, and you'll forgive us if we repeat one another, I don't think it's the end of the world, but we're each saying some of the things the other person is. The committee is very grateful to all who made contributions. Dozens of people contributed from $10 to $500. I feel it is appropriate to mention 3 who went far above and beyond. John Wasilewski, developer of Ocean View; John Marr, developer of the Computer Center and Insurance Complex on Route 1. And last but not least, Richard Byrne. Richard Byrne grew up in Falmouth, went to Falmouth High School, and when he called me about making a contribution, he said, I've never done anything for Falmouth, I've never been back, but I want to make a contribution. And he did. He went way above and beyond and offered to do more. So we're grateful today to John Wasilewski, John Marr, and Richard Byrne. We're also indebted to a number of people and businesses who made in-kind contributions. And again, Diane will talk about some others. I want to mention Arthur Batson, Lucas Tree. There were, when we started this, 13 pretty good-sized trees here. They were old and not very great, but they were big, such as that. And Arthur Batson took care of that in just 2 days. Also, Rodney Coleman, Coleman Excavating. That left all the stumps. Rodney and his crew removed all of those stumps. And 2, the oldest businesses in Greater Portland, Allen Stilling Lothrop and Skillen's Greenhouse. Shirley McGuire Brannigan and Allen Stilling Lothrop and Terry Skillen from Skillen's Greenhouse. They never hesitated a second. They said, what do you want? And each of them gave 2 trees and 3 shrubs. Is Bruce Collette here today from Collette?
To your right.
Apparently, yes, he is. Bruce Collette of Collette Monuments in Lewiston. We owe him a lot of thanks. He worked very closely with us, gave us a lot of good advice, and he was very, very fair to us in every way. So we're grateful to Bruce Collette, and I'm glad you're here today, Bruce. Jeff Mason, who's a park department head in Falmouth, and his son, Jamie Mason, who's a town engineer. They both were a big help to us. Diane has mentioned already, but that's the kind of help that we had. Originally, in our meetings, we anticipated that it would be necessary to request additional funding from the town council. Because of generous donations and the great in-kind assistance, we have not had to ask the town for any financial help at all. A few words about the smaller memorial stone. A memorial to those few to whom so many owe so much. This plaque is also found in the high school lobby. And it was first in the original high school, now the Plummer School. Then it was in the second high school, which is a middle school. Now it's in the lobby of the high school. Arthur Frederickson and I went up, and he took a picture of that in the lobby for the benefit of Collette, who did this for us. I want to read the names. James Iverson, Joseph Ribbentrop, Alfred Morton, Walter and Sylvester Fortin, and George Olmsted. With a high school of fewer than 125 students and the town population of approximately 2,500, these 6 represent a tremendous contribution. A final comment on this plaque. George Olmsted was a classmate of Arthur and me. Most people are 18 years old when they graduate from high school. A few are 19, a few are 17. George turned 19 following our junior year. He wasn't privileged to finish high school as the rest of us were. He was drafted. Things were not going well. I won't take the time to give a history lesson, but 1944, things were not going well in Europe. And some of the people inducted, like George, just turned 18, they went over into Europe with less than the normal amount of training. George was killed in Belgium when he was 18 years of age. Today, I remember George Olmsted. We used to ride together on the school bus. This is just a sample of the cruelties of war. I know that Arthur Frederickson would be proud of this monument. I am too. And I hope you and all of Falmouth is as well. Thank you.
May I introduce Russell Anderson, Falmouth Town Councilor, who will read the resolution.
Good morning. What a beautiful addition to our town. What a fitting tribute to the men and women from Falmouth who served their country in our armed services. And what a wonderful thing it is that this was all put together by volunteers, by private donations, by donations of in-kind labor by local businesses. Ted, you were good enough to thank the committee and a number of people who contributed. But this morning shouldn't go without you being thanked for the leadership that you showed in originating this idea and seeing it through many, many potential impasses along the way. And when the fundraising was underway, you knew the phone calls to make, you knew the bells to touch, and this whole day and this whole achievement couldn't have happened without your leadership, Ted. So thank you very much. At a recent town council meeting, we adopted a resolution regarding this Veterans Memorial, and I have the privilege of being asked to read it this morning. There are a few whereases and now therefore, so hang in there. Whereas on March 26, 2012, upon recommendation of residents Arthur Frederickson and H. Theodore Vale, the Town Council established an ad hoc Veterans Memorial Committee to advise the Council on funding, design, location, and construction of a memorial dedicated to Falmouth veterans. Whereas on May 30th, 2012, the Town Council appointed Art Frederickson, Carol Kaufman, Ted Vale, Bessie Jo Whitcomb, and Diane Moore to the Veterans Memorial Committee. Whereas the Veterans Memorial Committee began meeting on July 16, 2012, and on February 10, 2014, gave a presentation to the Town Council on the design, location, and costs for the Veterans Memorial. And whereas the Veterans Memorial Committee began fundraising on February 10, 2014, and met their goal of raising 100% of the funds needed on May 28, 2014. And whereas the Veterans Memorial Committee greatly appreciates the monetary and in-kind donations to the Veterans Memorial from individuals and businesses. And whereas the Falmouth Town Council deeply appreciates the work of the Veterans Memorial Committee and the contributions of Falmouth businesses and citizens. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Falmouth that the Town Council gratefully acknowledges the newly constructed Veterans Memorial located at 65 Depot Road on property owned by the American Legion Post 164. And be it further resolved that the Town of Falmouth will continue to maintain the Falmouth Veterans Memorial into the future. And be it further resolved, the Town Council of the Town of Falmouth acknowledges the dedication of the Falmouth Veterans Memorial on November 11th, 2014, and thanks our veterans and their families for their service to our country and for their sacrifice. Approved this 27th day of October, 2014.
You thought you heard the last of me, but I forgot a couple of things, probably more. But one, we don't have to explain, but I'm going to initially in our meetings, for one main reason, we decided not to try and include names. It's always difficult. Every town that does that has some problems, but we didn't. Our own committee member, Betsy Whitcomb, reminded us that Falmouth was one of 5 towns, and it would have been next to impossible to find the names of people from this town. The second thing I wanted to do, and I forgot, I'd like the Legionnaires on my right to stand if they would, please. Donald Farr, Ralph Bonville, Frank Dusty, and Arthur Shade. And I want to say, I'd like to give credit where credit is due. Ralph Bonville, not only a long-time member and many, many times commander, he's a historian. And a lot of times organizations and groups have a historian and they never do anything once they've been named. Ralph Bonville has written a history of this Legion post. It's no easy task. But I want to thank all of you for your work that you've done over the years. Thank you.
Pastor Gutherson will give the benediction.
Once again, as we gather on this beautiful day, we give thanks for the many blessings that are a part of our lives, and we give thanks for the blessings of those who have served and continue to serve our nation. We give thanks for the graciousness of our country and for the love that we share with one another. And now the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you with favor and grant you peace. Amen. Amen.
Thank you. And Rudnick will play taps. Thank you, Ben. At this time, I would like to thank Jeannie Madden, Events and Communication Librarian of the Falmouth Memorial Library, for her help. To Freeman Cleaves for the sound equipment. You're always there when we ask. To Jeff Mason of the Parks Department for his help with the electrical line that we dug one Saturday, removing truckloads of debris and planting the shrubs and trees. To our Boy Scout Troop 93 this morning, thank you very much for your help. And for all for attending this dedication of the Town of Falmouth Veterans Memorial. The Friends of the Falmouth Memorial Library invite you to a reception at the library.